Great, so this is the last meeting of this evening. And so I'll call to order the Environment and Natural Areas Committee of Monday, May 13th. I wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge the land that we're on, the traditional territories of the Shannon Nation, the Songhees, and the Sioux Nations. So we've got an agenda here set up, and we have one thing, which is the additional correspondence from Bev Bacon. I think it's a second piece of correspondence from Ms. Bacon that would follow. We'll put an 8B in correspondence if that meets the committee's approval. Seeing no objections, we'll take that. And could I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion.
Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Shukin, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks so much. There's no public participation. Would anyone like to speak tonight?
Good evening. Nicole Shukin, Lavon Road resident.
Good evening.
I just want to thank you for the wonderful report card on the climate action plan. It's really helpful to have, the actions kind of laid out next to the progress, some of the steps that have been taken. And the only thing I was going to ask is if it's so hard to tell sort of which initiatives have come from which council members or chairs of committees. For instance, I noticed there was like a mention of the grant that Councillor Epp, initiated or spearheaded for the active transportation grant. And it'd be awesome if her name could just be in brackets beside that, or the agricultural plan that Councillor Donaldson initiated. Just so, because so many members of council have been activated in helping to take action towards some of those priority items. So that would be awesome. But I just want to congratulate all of the committee, all of council on all the great steps.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So we have minutes from our Environment and Natural Areas Committee meeting of March 11. And if I could have a motion to adopt those minutes.
Motion to adopt.
From Councillor Donaldson.
Second.
And second by Councillor Shukin. Anything to discuss there? You're happy? All in favor? Carried. Thanks so much. And we're receiving minutes from the Environment Advisory Select Committee meeting of March 26th. A motion to receive from Councillor. Thank you. It's getting late, isn't it? And the seconder?
Second.
Councillor Shukin, all in favor?
I have some questions.
Great. Yes. Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah. So on page 6, there's a mention of an arborist report. Do we have an outcome of that report at all? So at the very bottom of page 6. Was it for the Lombard poplar tree?
Right. What happened was that Mr. Pratt had asked if we might comment on I think a tree fell over on Lombard Road. And so Mias looked at that and said, actually, you need to get professional advice on that. And so it would be Mr. Pratt contracted with an arborist who provided a report, and then we just reviewed the report and commented that looked pretty good to us too. We were interested just to see what the report said. But Mr. Pratt, do you want to comment on the report and what's happening on that?
I wasn't expecting to comment on it, but I can. The report recommended that trees are way past their life cycle and need to come down. They're a liability and risk hazard. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Councillor Gray?
Yeah.
Through you, I wondered if we could get that report. I was actually was asked for it PTASC as well, and I remember hearing something about it. This sounds like a pretty dramatic situation.
Mm-hmm. Quite.
So, yeah. But
certainly, if one were to look in the MIASC agenda package, it will be there.
okay.
So it's been made public.
Gotcha.
It's available for the public.
Thank you.
And as I say, our MIASC's role was simply to say yes, we should have professional help to examine the situation. And out of curiosity, we want to look at it afterwards.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Councillor Valentin, did you have another question?
I did, and I think it's probably going to come up later, but I'll ask it anyways.
Certainly.
On page 7, in your liaison's report, you talk about how we will minimize, or should minimize, the use of herbicides on municipal property. I don't even think we're allowed to do that. Use any of it, right now? No herbicides, no pesticides on municipal properties.
I think that's correct. I think it's an error on the minutes. But
Okay.
if we receive these tonight, they'll be corrected when we go back to the committee.
Okay.
What had happened is we were looking at the pesticide policy, and you're correct, we don't use them for, I think the language is for cosmetic purposes, and that was kind of a saw-off of the previous council on district property. And the suggestion, we discussed it a little bit, and it'll come back to our committee at some point, thinking that perhaps this new council would take a stronger view on herbicide and pesticide use. So at the moment, I think we're limited for cosmetic use, and we can go stronger than that. Councillor
Thank you.
Schuman?
The 9C mentions the shoreline protection plan, and that Bill Cade had that and was going to pass it on. Has that been done?
Yes, and you can find a copy of it in the agenda package for the MIASC.
March 26th?
The following meeting, I think. We'll
Okay,
see that in a
great.
moment. And it's a terribly interesting proposal, and well, maybe I'll mention it now. I've now met with Councillor David Grove from Colwood and staff from Colwood. No, I've just forgotten Ian's last name. Is a planner there, Bournehill. And we were talking about the tremendous work that has been done in Colwood on their shoreline, mostly to protect natural assets. And it was very interesting to look at their plan, and the plan that was written in 2013 by MIASC and not accepted by council at that time. So we'll work on a little bit more and come to council with some ideas, first general, and then we'll see where we go from there. But you'll recall council decided not to invest this year financially in writing a shoreline plan. So I'll call the question on accepting those, receiving those minutes. All in favor? Thank you. And then we've got the minutes from the April 23rd MIASC meeting. And a motion to receive would be appreciated.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Schuman, seconded by Councillor Eck. Any discussion? Well, there you can see on number 9, other business, talk about herbicides for cosmetic purposes. Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, did I ask all in favor? Boy, it is getting late, isn't it? All in favor? Thank you. Carried. So the next item on the agenda is something that we discussed at MIASC, and that was the production of biosolids through the sewage system in the CRD. And we've looked at this, or we saw a report from the mayor about some discussions at the CRD, and they're debating a number of options, including land application of biosolids. And so because of that, and because it was in the news, and we had missed the opportunity for us to take a look at it at the committee level, it was the desire of the committee to recommend to this committee that we say to council that we'd like them to let the CRD know that biosolids are not welcome on Mishoshan's agricultural fields and forests. Now, the reason for this is, of course, we're interested in land protection, aquifer protection, our water courses, the shoreline, the health of our ecosystems. And these biosolids contain the PFAs, that's the forever chemicals, microplastics, pharmaceuticals, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, other chemicals of emerging concerns. So lots of issues around it, and we thought it would be appropriate for Metchosin to take a stand on that. Back in 2021, there was a letter put together that the council of the day on Metchosin took a look at, and said, yeah, let's move forward in spirit with that and encourage the CRD directors to meet and talk about it. And then I have some, I don't have a motion from the CRD, but I have other correspondence from 2021 saying that the CRD directors of Southern Vancouver Island did take a position contrary to biosolid application on land. But I thought it, and the committee thought it worth having council restate that because the mayor is our representative at the CRD, and one of us, alternative, I think Councillor Epp at the moment, may wish to speak on that issue at the CRD. So if anyone would be open to making a motion, we can get it on the council's agenda.
I just have a question. It was my understanding that back in 2011, the CRD had banned the land application of biosolids.
And if you recall, a few meetings ago, they're back discussing whether it should be applied. For me, it's an issue of protecting the environment here, and if you folks are comfortable with them being spread on chosen soils and forests, then we'll leave the motion alone.
Clearly, clearly we're not. The one thing I hesitate, and I'm not even sure it's a legitimate reason to hesitate, is I don't think there's an actual direct question of bringing it to Machosa's land. I don't know. Sure, I can make a motion to that council let CRD know that biosolids are not welcome on agricultural fields and forests. So this would be a recommendation to council for the approval of a letter. And so maybe, and I might actually bring this to council for discussion with the mayor when she's here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she's plugged into this discussion, as I understand.
So thanks for the motion. If there was a seconder, thank you, Councillor. So I'll just reference the discussion that we had at this council table where the mayor explained to us that the CRD is now considering fertilizer, turning the biosolids for fertilizer for residential use, fertilizer for agriculture, and wholesale fertilizer for landscaping, and as a forest fertilizer. So all of these are under discussion at the moment, as I understand it. We received the information about the public consultation 2 days before it was done at this table, so MES was unable to pick it up. We've picked it up subsequently, and we're saying we think we should be opposed to these. So we'll discuss it at the council, but thank you for the motion. Maybe I'll just call the question. This would be that we discuss this at the council table.
Sure.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the Climate Action Plan, the report that I wanted to put together for people to see that we've been doing a lot of different things. You may have seen the article in the Guardian newspaper this past week, new report from the climate scientists and people discussing things. The suggestion is that we're looking for a major societal breakdown within the next 5 years. We're heading to at least a 2.5 degrees centigrade increase in global temperatures with the disastrous results for humanity. We're looking at a dystopian future with fire, floods, famine, mass migration. The scientists are feeling hopeless and fearful. They're infuriated with the failure of governments to act. So with that background, I wanted to show you what we've been doing in Machosen, and I'm happy. I think we've done a lot. And I reflect back on what the mayor talked to us about when we first got this going, which is that whatever we're doing, whatever committee we're on, whether it's the planning committee or the public works or finance, we need to be thinking about the climate. And that it's all of our jobs and across all of what we do. And so in reference to what we heard from resident Nicole Shupin tonight, this is a report of council's, not of this particular committee. This is all of what we're all doing, what I could find, and there may be more to add as time goes forward. I wondered if I could ask folks, what on here, what should we focus on next? What should we move next on?
Councillor Ray, just a general comment. If what is your plan for bringing this to this committee? Is it quarterly, twice a year?
I thought I would bring it quarterly, depending on council's interest.
Yeah. if there's a chance to circulate it to council before it comes out, that would be neat, because we might be able to provide some input into it. And again, to the comment that was addressed earlier, it might be interesting to just, again, assign some names to people who have key responsibilities. So, for example, the Ag Plan or the Active Transportation Plan. But yeah, no, to your point, it is, there's a lot going on, and it's like a full district undertaking.
Well, if you could let me know as you take on something, you think, well, that's got a climate implication, that would be a help. I'm trying to collect the things up and make sure I'm covering off all of what we're doing. I see this as a council effort, not one of the Environment Committee per se. As you well know, many things on here are from all of our work, including, for example, the topic a moment ago on your agenda to do with aquifer protection.
Yeah.
So I'll mention and as per circulation, I just put it up as usual in the agenda package. But I could certainly, you've got it now, and if you've got some comments, I would love to get some feedback and work on it.
Yeah. Well, even letting us know, again, sorry, beforehand when it's coming, it would be neat to be able to turn our mind to it and update it and actually just trigger further discussion as to what we can do next.
Great idea. I'll do that.
Nothing, yeah, thank you.
I'll mention that the three things that we have talked about, or I've talked about, in terms of the next steps. So one is riparian area protection, education, and potentially regulation, and that's about our waterways and aquifers. We've talked about land protection and taking a look at the tax exempt properties and what are we doing about that, and the shoreline protection plan. And in spite of not having the financial resources this year, we've got some pretty interesting material to work on, and I'll be bringing that forward as I'm able. But if people have other ideas on council about where they want to focus next, I'd just love to hear from them, and we'll do that. Well, let's move on. Oh, I want to mention, perhaps, I did attend yesterday a May Day for Mother Earth. It was organized by the Greater Victoria Community Climate Hub, and I joined a panel with some other councillors from the West Shore and some local youth. And I think it was an interesting thing to take part of, and I hope had some impact in terms of public education. Maybe we'll turn next then to my councillor's report. And there were a couple of things to mention there. One is that it's been in the news, the Regional Water Supply Commission. I did report previously that we were going to review. We have now reviewed the 2022 CRD Regional Water Supply Master Plan. And there was some rough water in the sense that there was an idea of maybe slowing it down or stopping it or having it all reviewed. It turned out that the commission decided to keep moving forward. The plan is to provide adequate long-term supply of high-quality, safe drinking water through reliable and efficient drinking water transmission system. And the notion is that there's repairs that need to be done or projects that need to be done for existing users, and there are projects that need to be done because we're bringing more people to live here. And the various parts of the project are putting addition of a deep northern intake for Sioux Lake Reservoir, replacement of transmission mains, bringing the Leach watershed online, and adding a water filtration plant. There's also studies and modeling. The expected cost will be something like $2.06 billion. So it's a major event and worthy of discussion and a lot of work. There was, at our last meeting, a discussion about how we're going to pay for it once again. And the notion of development cost charges is alive and well, and that there's going to be a public consultation moving forward on that. There's another system I wasn't aware of before, but not only the development cost charges, which are about assigning cost to who will benefit from the improvements, but there was also a discussion about a requirement, I gather, in legislation that existing users assist developers in a different way, or in a new way, and that was the idea that we have what's called a municipal assist factor. And that's where existing users are going to help out the new developers. And there was a range of 1% to 99%, like big on support or a little bit of support. And we have to pick a number between 1 and 99. Typically, the municipal assist factor is 10%, or between 1 and 10%, excuse me. The staff had recommended a 25% assist from local residents, and the commission, after some consideration, opted for a program description of a 1% municipal assist factor. In other words, sticking with the idea that the benefiter pay principle, the new people benefiting from the water changes will be largely funded by new users. I thought that was good news for existing users. I want to mention the stage 1 watering restrictions that came into effect on May 1 and they run through September 30th. There's been some changes and the cards come out in the mail that you may have seen. It's particularly relating to people who are irrigating at home, just to smooth out when the water's turned on, so that it doesn't jar the system. We have a few more minutes. I think we can probably run through before going after 10. Let's see. So the request really is that people help protect our water and follow those restrictions. I want to mention there was a letter put together by the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment and along with the BC Union Indian Chiefs and other NGOs about the problem that we have, which is that seems to be little or no progress on developing local plans for evacuation in the case of an oil spill and dealing with all the health effects. We're expecting, as the letter that we forwarded to the province, a mass casualty event if there were to be a spill, particularly in the Barber Inlet, but also out here. So I signed on to the letter, and I was just urging mayor and councillors to also sign on if they would. Other Metchosin group that signed on was the Metchosin Climate Action Team, and that's I think 4 people: Rick Perron, Alison Leduc, Bev Bacon, and Bill Cave. But I signed on with the mayor of and councillors from Burnaby, councillors from Vancouver, New West, and Port Moody, and we did get some press in the Vancouver Sun, so hopefully that we'll see some action. And I think we may need to follow up on some of our correspondence we've made, given nothing's happened on that front, and it's quite a danger to the population here. I'll also be discussing more with the fire chief, who offered to develop a shoreline plan, and maybe we'll lift that up as a higher priority in the fire department work plan. The next item was just we're back to invasive black knapweed season, and we'll be working with the CRD. Our staff work with the CRD. They work at Tower Point in a couple of parks, but also along our right-of-ways. And so that's starting now, and residents near Tower Point are becoming, I think, familiar with this. But if they identify black knapweed on their properties, we're happy to come along from the district and help out in terms of eradication. And then finally, I want to point out that there's a predator conflict and control presentation here at 7 p.m. Friday, May 17th, by Peter Powell's, talking about 30 years of predatory conflict and control in the capital region. And given we've talked about that issue around the table, I thought worth mentioning it tonight. Well, I said finally, but actually one more thing to add. At AVIC, the resolution that we were supportive of banning rodent glue traps passed, and we'll move forward to UBC, and that's a recommendation of the province. Are there any questions of what I presented?
I was going to ask who the climate action team was, and so thank you for
Great.
Yeah,
Small but mighty group.
exactly.
Can I offer a correction?
well-
It's not Bill Cave, but we have a new member, Derek Wolf.
So we just heard from the audience that not only is Bill Cave a member, but so is Derek Wolf.
No, Bill Cave isn't.
So then we got a piece of correspondence here from Bev Bacon about tanker traffic, and had a couple of comments about that. One is that at least one councillor joined the Cape letter. We're working on getting media attention, and we've got a little bit of coverage from Capital Daily on the materials that we put forward about dealing with oil spills and the inability for the response crews to get out into the ocean for 40% of the time. And it may be time for us to write a promise again about those health effects, but we'll talk to Mianska about that. We had another piece of correspondence from Ms. Bacon, which was in relation to biosolids, and I think we've talked about that this evening, so we'll just take a motion to receive both pieces of correspondence.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Epp, all in favor. And if there's no further discussion, a motion to adjourn.